everyone, I'm here with my testing sheet to test out the colors for my painting in masculine colors for my gilded monogram painting for my father's 75th birthday. And I also tested the gold here. So I tested first of all the colors, and so I painted the wreath on this testing sheet, and I painted that with Fine Tech, and then here I put the gold over that illustrator's bowl, and it looks horrible because obviously it's all dented and everything. Here the mini atom ink worked pretty well. I was satisfied with that. And lastly, the Instacol over here, but it's scratched, as you can see. So that one worked the best, and I decided to use the Instacol to gild the painting with. But I tried buffing it and it scratched it, so that was not good. I also tried the Instacol again on this little flower with the raised dots, and it just looked beautiful, so I was in love with that look. And again, right over here I used the Instacol, just practicing with it on my practice sheet to make sure I was confident enough to go ahead and gild the actual painting, which was scary because if I made a mistake on that, then there's no going back. Okay, so here I'm using patent gold, and patent gold is the kind that's attached to a sheet, and the convenience of that is you can cut it into strips like this as you need it, so you don't have to waste a lot of gold. So you can sort of cut it into the shapes that that you're applying it to. So here I'm applying it to the little dots, and as you apply it, you really want to be careful. See, I'm using just a brush, and you just carefully push it into the Instacol after you breathe on it. And I didn't really need to buff anything with that Q-tip you see at the top. I really just buffed it with that brush because it's not really buffing it, it's more just running something very, very soft over it to just buff it very, very lightly. So even this patent gold's hard to work with. I just gilded my finger there. So I'm starting off tentatively, gilding just the little dots to see how it goes, and it's going well. So then I continue on to the larger areas of the Instacol. Okay, so in this video you're going to see my head in the shot a lot of times. So I've edited the video of the times where I'm blowing with the straw. I edited parts out where my head was in front of the artwork because nobody wants to see that. So I edited it for time. Just know that when you see possibly my head in the shot, or after, or like before every time I apply the gold, I have blown on it as you see here. So I'm just taking a straw and huffing on it so the hot air creates a bit of moisture on top of the Instacol. But many times my head was in the shot, so I just edited that part out. So here it's looking really nice. Don't do that, don't stick your finger in it like I did. But this is a learning process for me. And then what I do is, I don't want to waste any of the gold. So I pretty much lift up all the sides of the gold, and then I huff on even the part that I made gold again and sort of fold it on top. But here I'm just huffing on this little dot to put that little piece I had from the diamond there. See, I'm taking it off the diamond and just moving it around. So it's a delicate, finicky process, and you know, depending on how much gold you want to waste, maybe you don't have to be so meticulous. You can just take your piece of gold on the paper again and keep pressing it down, but I was pretty frugal with this. Also, you can put a couple of layers of the gold on. So this is the first layer, but I huff on it again, and you can get sort of fold over, see on the diamond there, you can fold over that bottom part onto it again and just push as much gold as it will take onto the area. Okay, so as you can see right here, I'm being quite frugal with the gold, and I hopped on another area, that dot, and then I lifted the gold from the diamond area and just brought it over there. And I'm going to do the same thing with this dot, just working in small areas, bringing the gold over. However, I discovered while I was moving it that there's no more gold to bring. So I use this stiff synthetic brush, and it's the perfect softness and firmness to sort of buff on the gold down onto the Instacol. And as you can see here, it doesn't fully take off the gold from where the painted area is, and so I go in with a Q-tip, which I'm still applying it very softly, but it does take off that area around and buffs it onto the Instacol nicely. Here I'm huffing on the gold one more time, and you can see the condensation go onto the diamond, and I'm just pushing on the edges of all that little spare gold that was on the sides and pushing it into the gold that's already there, and just buffing it so very lightly with this brush, and that seems to work just as well as a cotton bud. So I've also decided to speed up some of the areas. This is at 2 times speed, just for the brevity of the video, but I think you can still see the idea of what I'm doing here. I leave some areas of the video in real time just to see how careful I'm being and how long it takes, like right here. But I sort of skip between speeding up the video and keeping it slow because you know, there's only so much gold application you can watch before you get the idea, but it's good to see it in real time to see how delicate you have to be with it. So here I found, as I go along, it's really useful to cut that patent gold into those little pieces, the little squares like I'm showing you, because then you don't have to worry about all the gold coming off the extra areas, and you can work in small little areas, and it's just easier to control that way. I'm pretty sure that's why the patent gold attached to the sheets costs a little bit more. I also found it very useful to have a set of tweezers to hold on to the pieces of gold paper like I'm showing you here. I'll try to include any links to anything that I bought, any of the materials in the description bar below, because some of them I bought on Amazon, some of them I didn't. So here I am gilding my paintbrush and that will happen. But I'll try to leave links below where I can. sec, okay? Just let me get this piece of gold on here. I can't.
Behind you now.
I can't stop. So the reason that I'm huffing so much and so long here is because I painted the Instacall on one night and then my friend came over, and so it had been a full day at least. So you kind of have to huff some more when it's the Instacall is more dry. After this first application, then I went in a day later because I finished the rest another day after that, and I painted a very thin layer of Instacall and very watery layer just over the middle of the E and the middle of the W there when I did it another day, just so that I wouldn't have to huff so hard, and then it would kind of refresh the stickiness of the Instacall. The other thing that I discovered was I used the Instacall right out of the bottle that I got from John Neal Bookseller, and apparently you're supposed to, or you can, mix a little bit of water with it, which would have probably made it easier for me to make dots because it would pool more into a puddle. There's a delicate balance that you need. If you look at people who do art, who do pointillism, you go look at that. There's a special fluidity that you need to make the dot pool on its own into a perfect circle. So I think that contributed to the difficulty I had with spreading this Instacall around. Next time when I gild my niece's initials for her painting, I'm going to mix a little water with it, and I think it's going to be a lot easier to use because I was trying to move around this very thick liquid and it was pretty hard. So as you can see here, I'm starting to get better at the process, and I start being a little more efficient, and I'm huffing on one area and just putting the gold down in a few areas before I buff off the edges like this, and I'm just sort of getting the gold on everywhere and taking some of that extra from there. And look at it fly around. It's so hard to work with. Look at it, it's almost floating over the surface. But it's doable. I mean, you gotta love this work, right? Anyway, so I'm getting better at the process, and that you can do that. So you can do sort of large areas and just cover it in gold, and then come back cover every area and then come back after and buff off the edges and, you know, give a very light buffing to the gold on the Instacol. I'm also keeping the video at real-time speed so you can see pretty much exactly how long this application takes. Okay, so here I discovered when after the gold was on the first layer, and if you huff on it again and you just fold the gold over, see I'm just folding it back onto itself, that's your second layer of gold. So you just want to pack on as much gold as it will take, and then when it stops taking it, that's it, that's all the gold you can pack on. But you just want to keep putting on as much gold as it will take. There are also a couple things you might want to watch out for. Although I painted the initials first with watercolor and then I'm gilding after, apparently you're supposed to put the gold on first. And the reason is, as you can see here, or maybe not see, but sometimes the gold sticks to areas of the watercolor. It just depends on how wet you get the watercolor. Now later on I discovered that there was a little too much moisture or something dripped. I think it might have been moisture gathering up from the inside of my straw, and it sort of dripped onto the green part, and I had to correct an area, and it was pretty scary because I'm like, I don't want to deal with putting on white, and because sometimes you can see the mistake. But just watch out for condensation gathering up in your straw and just dripping right on your painting, because I think that happened to me. Other than that, it could have been a drip from something else, but I was extremely careful with that, with water around my painting, not to spill it on there or anything. But apparently you're supposed to gild first. I ended up getting all the gold off of any that stuck to the watercolor. It was actually easy. You just take the cotton bud and it just does come right off. But if there's any sticky thing around and it sticks onto there, I mean, you're gonna have to paint over it again. Just some things to watch out for. So here's kind of the fun part, the second layer of gold. So you don't have to really be careful. You just huff on everything and put some more gold on there and see how much gold it will take. And everything took a second layer, as you can see. And it's kind of interesting because you can really see your breath on the condensation. You can really see it on the first layer of gold. Here I decided to see if I could polish it up a little more than it is, and I took the side of a flat synthetic brush, and that's really nice for getting everything out of the crevices on the side. I don't think it really polished it any more than it was, but maybe it did. I'm not sure. I was just doing it to make sure it was as shiny as it could get. Okay, so here we are, we're almost finished, and I'm just taking a very fluffy light brush to brush all the little pieces of gold off of the paper. And pretty soon you'll see me using the tweezers to sort of scrape any little gold pieces around the edges of the little round circle gold pieces. See, like right there. I'm very, very gently scraping it off. So you got to be very careful with this process. And the water droplet on the E hasn't happened yet. So I'm going to show you where it happens. Okay, here comes the time to sign my name, and I just put Andrea 2018. But to tell you the truth, you know what? I signed my name about 4 or 5 times. I just wasn't happy with a few of them. One was in a pencil too dark, and finally I got it right. Okay, here I am applying a third application of gold. I guess it's a second really, because most areas got a second layer, but this main part of the E, just I could see a little dull spot, so I could see through it. So I knew it needed another application. But I also see this is where the mistake happens right there. Do you see in the E? And I'm looking at my brush right now, and something right there, something is wet, and it's creating green on my brush. I discover that my brush is wet and it's picking up the green from the E. And maybe I hadn't seen it yet because I was still sticking the gold on, but I had to go back in and fix that wet part and put a little bit of pigment ink on it. See, I've got my Kuretake white out, and I fixed the part of the E, but I was just so careful for that not to happen. I don't know how it happened still. I think it might have been a water droplet from the straw, or it could just be a water droplet from anywhere, maybe a paintbrush or something. But now I've got my Sigma white gel pen out, and I'm just putting on the final touches to the painting. And I always knew I was gonna do this, but I wanted to get the gilding over with first. So I was trying to decide whether to use the Kuretake white watercolor, but I think that would be too see-through. So I'm using the white Sigma pen pigment ink because I really want it to stand out in the middle of this flower. And then I paint on all the fun little last sparkles and fun details with my Fine Tech gold paint in the wreath, in the flowers. And I'll just let you watch that part and enjoy the rest of the video. So here I'm just taking my Fine Tech sparkly gold watercolors, and I'm fixing all sort of the little mistakes and things that don't look perfect on the flowers, and I'm putting a little bit more sparkle into here and there in the wreath, so that reflects the gold in the monogram. So I didn't want to bring any full-on 24 karat gold into the wreath because I wanted the emphasis to be on the middle monogram letters, but a little bit of sparkle in a more subtle way I feel reflects the design, and it just brings the whole thing together rather than the wreath being completely matte and the middle being full-on bling. I think it's just perfect how it just, the little subtle sparkles, and in that amethyst Daniel Smith paint there are little sparkles in the real amethyst used, so I love that. So I'm just really making dots everywhere of little gold and white gold highlights, and it looks really pretty in the light. So most of the highlights I've used here have been the medium gold in the foliage, but here I'm using the white gold from the Fine Tech palette with my little ball stylus tool here, and I'm putting those little white, which looks beautiful with the dark blue, they're little silver white gold basically highlights, and it just looks really beautiful. Okay, so here I'm fixing up the very last details, which are adding back in some of that green where I scrubbed the edge with a brush and it made the green not have a crisp line, it sort of leaked. Anyway, it's hard to explain, but I'm just crisping up that line and fixing where right here where the mistake happened, the E, and putting a little bit more green in there, and I ended up making it look pretty good. You can't really tell the mistake is there. I used my sand, my Tombow mono sand eraser, and some white watercolor. And it seems I can't stop with this painting, but I'm going in again with that's Mayan Blue, by the way, by Daniel Smith, the W. And I don't remember what, I'm sorry that I don't remember what, I think the green is Hooker's Green from my Korean brand, what's it called? Magello Mission watercolors. I think the green, the E is Hooker's Green, and the W is Mayan Blue by Daniel Smith. And I just think those two are really beautiful masculine colors. It's my dad's 75th birthday, so I hope he likes this. I'm sure he will. Anyway, continue watching. I'm almost finished. Okay, so as you can see with my Tombow Mono eraser, I took off that shine of that area where I had put on the white, and it's mostly fixed. Like, you can barely see it, so I'm really happy with that. Okay guys, that's it. This is the final piece. I'm gonna send it to my dad for his 75th birthday. I hope he loves it. And here's just some pictures I took. Hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's long, but sometimes when you're learning, you want to see the whole process, so I left it all in there. Please drop me a like, it really helps me out, and subscribe if you care to. And you can follow me on Instagram as well at Andy Designer. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.